Hello everyone of the King of Eight forums. My name is Pdaaaawg, but you all know me as like the host of the King of Eight podcast. Well, I wouldn't say the host, I'd say the lead organizer of the King of Eight podcast. I prefer that term. But anyway, I am here for a very special video. I am going to debut a brand new project that we have got, that me and Mr. K have came across. Now, the thing is, before we even talk about it, I want to give a huge special thanks to Mr. K for volunteering to do this for us, and basically I'm going to explain to everyone how it's going to work now, like how the podcast is going to run now. But basically, as many of you would know who've been following the podcast, we always had this kind of, the way the podcast worked was I would have the audio file and I would just put like a slideshow of photos that people would submit from the King of Eight forums to the podcast. And the problem with that was, after like the 5th podcast, we ran out of photos, so I ended up having to like reuse like the usual ones. So Mr. K came up to me in Skype and said, I'm wondering if I can help you out, and then he actually recommended this, and as you can see, this is absolutely fantastic. This is the new template for what's going to happen for the King of Eight podcast. Now, here's a few backstory rules. Okay, so what's going to happen is, I'm going to do my usual stuff. I'm going to be, getting the times, I'm going to organize everything, and then I'm going to record everyone on the Skype call, and I'm going to edit the audio file, but then I'm going to send it to Mr. K, and he's going to properly edit the podcast. And whenever I say that, it's not like, I'm just going to throw some photos on and publish it and upload it like I was doing. But instead, he's going to actually, like, if I know, we'll get to it whenever we talk about it more, but yeah, he's going to do a lot more than what I was doing, let's put it that way. So anyway, let's have a little look at this here. So I'm looking at this right now, despite the fact I'm still recording this. So as you can see, you can see everyone's avatars and usernames now at the very front. This will be on the screen the whole time. We're not going to switch. We're not going to switch photos or anything. This will stay on the screen the whole time while the audio is still there. As you can see, we used the podcast number 13 as an example, because that was the most recent one. We just figured, it's the most appropriate one to do. So as you can see, you've got me, you've got Pdaaaawg in the top left, you've got the Lemon, you've got Alexander Nikolovic, I believe that's how you pronounce it. Unfortunately, his username's too long, so we couldn't actually fit it in, but, he's like the longest username we'll ever have in the podcast. And Captain Fireworks is in the bottom right. Now, as you can see, their avatars are pretty big, and their usernames are below them. This is helpful, so that you don't have to just listen in the audio. You actually know who's in it just by looking at it. So I think that's pretty cool. Also, you'll notice below them, you see 2 social network links. You've got Twitter and YouTube. We figured that we don't need to just put 2 in, because rather than, constantly shift them around and this guy does YouTube, but this guy doesn't have either, but this guy has both, we just figured we'll just stick those 2 on. They're the most common ones. Obviously, people have Facebook or Twitch, but those 2 were definitely the most common ones that kept on popping up in the podcast. So what's going to happen is, whenever the video is uploaded, I'm going to put in the annotations, I'm going to, link whatever is appropriate. For example, for this one, I believe I have both, so I would link below mine. I would link my Twitter account and my YouTube account. If you just click on the little icons, it'll bring up my Twitter and YouTube. Alexander has a YouTube but not Twitter, so I would just link the YouTube. The Twitter icon will stay there, but I won't have anything linked in it because he doesn't have it. Captain Fireworks, I don't think he has either, and the Lemon doesn't have either. So it's a pretty abrupt podcast anyway, but most people would have both, I would say. So most of the time those icons would come in useful. And I'm not sure if we still cut plugs in the podcast itself, but we'll still just decide. As you can see, this is very early beta test of this here, but I still think it's going to be really successful. Up at the top you can see the King of Eight podcast episode 13, E3 predictions and expectations. What this pretty much is you've got the big title, the King of Eight podcast. That's going to stay there, for all photos, obviously. Episode 13, obviously that's going to change for each podcast, and then the bottom one, that's the big topic, E3 predictions and expectations. So whatever we're talking about for the big topic, that will be there instead. And at the very bottom, you can see the King of Eight podcast official logo. Thanks to 3Bad for providing that. And then we've got last and next. And what's going to happen is I'm just going to link the whatever podcast was before it. Last means whatever was before it, and the next is the podcast after it. So obviously, since this is going to be the first one, episode 14, there won't be anything under last, and there won't be anything under next, and I'll just be linking the last. So hopefully, whenever we use this a lot more often, this will be the main way it'll happen. And as you can see, you've got a big box in the middle, and this is the one I'm most excited about. The big box in the middle is a different shade of blue. It's kind of faded into white. And the reason why we did that is because we're going to put photos in here. And what I'm going to do from now on, whenever we're doing the Skype call, I'm going to actually take a note of what times we talk about what. So I'll just be keeping a note on the time, and then, we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about this game, so we're just going to put this up here. So I'm actually going to do an example here in the audio, alright? So for example, we're all going to be sitting here and we're all going to talk about Darkside Phil. Alright, so let's just stick a photo of Phil up there. Boom, there he is. He's already up there, so that'll give anyone who's just kind of skimming through, okay, what are we talking about right now? Okay, there he is right there. Then we might say, okay, let's move on to games. Let's talk about, say, GTA 5. Boom, photo of GTA 5 comes up. We might use videos, but, depends on how long, how serious it is. If we were going to, debut a new trailer or anything, or if we were talking about E3 or whatever, But if we were to debut, a new trailer, or a perfect example is in episode 13, whenever we were talking about the kid that the kid's dad that got angry at him, I could just stick the video in here. But for an example for this here, we're just going to use 5 seconds of the Black Ops 2 trailer. So boom.
Robots. Unmanned armies. And no one ever asked. What happens when the enemy steals the keys?
There it is. So, as you can see, this is going to completely change how the podcast works. Now we're going to actually get really in-depth, a really in-depth look at what's going to happen. And if the fact that we can actually put videos in now is even better. And I don't think we're going to be using it really often. I don't think we're going to be using it every 5 seconds, because that'd be really annoying if every single time we said, let's see what Phil was doing, and then we just previewed a video, good, and then he played this game, boom, preview video. Nobody would like that. So we would use it whenever it's appropriate. Depending on what would happen. It's very situational, but I'll be contacting Mr. K before, during, and after the podcast in regards to what videos we would need, what photos we would need. So anyway, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys really enjoy this and you lay out. I am pumped for it. I can't wait for it. This is going to be really exciting, and I hope you guys, and it'll be starting this week for the E3 specials. So I hope you guys enjoy this new layout, and we'll just see where it goes from here. So I've been Pdaaaawg, and thanks for listening.